Hello.
Hey, look at all the people.
Hi, it's Bruce here. Give me one second.
Okay. I believe everyone is on, and it's 6:38. I apologize for having some issues logging into the system. But I wanted to first welcome everyone to our second ZPD committing a meeting for 2025. I know we have a couple cases to discuss, but I figured before we go, let's do a roll call through everyone that is here. Joel Heisey,
Here.
Jason Bello,
Here.
Frank Chauvin,
Here.
Alex Smith,
Here.
Daniel Kramer, Naini Hong.
It's Niani, but that's okay. I'm here.
I'm glad you said that. I'll spell it out how I can say it. Niani. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Thanks, Niani. I know Karen Gal is not here tonight. Myself, I'm here. Christian Brandt.
Here.
Great. Nice to see you, Christian. Mr. Bruce Flippins.
I am here also.
Awesome. Great. And the last is Simon Handelman. Simon, you on the call? No. Okay. And we have Patrick Nelson.
Here.
Thank you, Patrick. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. So far, what we have total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 out of 12
Alan,
people.
you missed one. Yeah, missed
Who did I
one.
Who did I
You left
miss?
Karen off.
Oh, Karen with the Y. Karen Brungenfield. Bruggeman. I'm sorry, Karen.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. You're under Karen Gal's name, even though it's spelled differently. I'm like, all right, she's not here. Sorry about that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 out of 12 committee members present, which means we have a quorum, which is great. So let's jump right into it. So also, again, I apologize for me being late. So the first case on the docket that we're going to discuss today is applicant TDM LLC Degree. It's property located at 1922 9th Street Northwest, Arts-2. It's case number HPA 2593. Now, from what I could see, I believe the participant is on the call. I wanted to see if I can promote him and see if they can go through any questions or anything we have. Hold on one second. Let me see if I get this person on. You know, at the just to move the process along, right? So I see Mr. Degrees Zuidi's online. So I don't know if can you speak, sir?
I'm online.
Yes. Okay,
My
great.
name is
That's awesome.
Derek Zodi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for attending the meeting tonight. This is to discuss the property located at 1922 9th Street Northwest.
Yes.
We have a hearing date of 4/24. So this, we do have enough time to not only seek through the committee, but also then be able to vote for it for the next commission meeting. I also appreciate Mr. Kuzmark, you're here as well. You'll be going right after this case. So let's go into it. The request basically is to design, review, and alteration, and in addition to a rear of a row house, which is the short end of it. Patrick, you have anything else you want me to add?
No,
Okay.
if those two people that are on, Mr. Degree and Juan Carlos, if you could turn your video on if you have it, so we can see you. If you don't have it, that's fine. And then I would assume that one of you
I have it.
has as a rendering that you can show and talk about.
I think the architect is on the call as well. I think he has more to say because I don't know about the question that you guys have.
Okay, yeah, we just want to basically look at some drawings, and I don't see him in the audience. I don't know if I might be missing.
He's there. Yeah,
Okay, yes, he is on at the end. I'm going to ask him to unmute. I've clicked to ask him to unmute, but he's not really responding. Hey, Mr. Zudi, could you possibly text Mr. Juan Carlos and tell him to unmute himself?
Okay, let me do that.
Thanks.
Okay.
It looks like there's two Juan Carlos Lorates in the attendees list, so one of them must be the right person. But
All right, I'm gonna what I'm doing. I just promoted one. I'm promoting the other. So both Juan Carloses have been promoted to panelists. Juan, can you hear us? I don't know why he's not. Okay, allowed to talk. All right, you are on, Mr. Juan.
Mr.
Carlos.
Chairman, is this the same project that we discussed last meeting?
Yes, and he was on hold for a while, and he ended up hanging up near the end of the call.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was the same one, that's all.
Yes, okay. So,
Can I have a point of order too? Can we define what we're looking for? Because this is what we reviewed and made a recommendation to the commission on last time. So we'll review this again and we could make the same recommendation or amend and or change the recommendation we made last time based on the applicant who's here tonight and the way he answers questions. Am I correct? Do I have this understood correctly?
Yes, that is correct, Frank.
Hello, sorry to interrupt. I have Mr. Juan Carlos.
Ah,
That technical
hey,
issues on the audio. Yeah.
Juan, you started making me think I'm going crazy. I appreciate it. I'm glad you could talk. I promoted you on two different names, so of the same name. So, Frank, yes, your port owner obviously was recognized, and yes, that is correct. And this individual was very patient. Juan, thank you for being patient last time with us. Glad you're back on the call. You are unmuted. And do you have any drawings or any kind of renderings you can pull up to the screen to show us regarding this project?
Well, I have the drawings, but you have to give me
Can they be from Project Docs? The ones from Project Docs?
While he's pulling that up, just for the education or notification of the committee members, the recommendation that was put forth to the full ANC was amended because they were not happy with what was put in there. So really what was sent forward, as far as I know, to the the commission or postponement of this case was lack of community engagement.
All right.
And I'm sorry, one more point of order. Was the lack of community engagement that they didn't come to the ANC or that they did not meet with the neighbors or both? I mean, I consider it was both.
Right, Frank,
It was both.
guys, please, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pull the chair card, but let me at least acknowledge your point of order before you start your question. Frank, point of order notice, go ahead.
Well, I'll just repeat what I said, which is I presume that the piece adopted by the ANC, which was half of our motion, which was we did not recommend proceeding with support for the application because the applicant, Mr. Zudi and Mr. Lazart, did not either come before the ANC and also did not meet and reach out and meet with the contiguous neighbors.
Yes, Frank, that is absolutely correct. What had happened was when I talked to ZPD, they also said to me that the drawings weren't in full, meaning Juan Carlos did not submit the full drawings, and the fact that there was no communication with the local neighbors. So that's why the ANC pushed it back. Matthew Holden and I can't think of his name right now, but the treasurer, they both felt that there was no issue with this. So the only things that they were really concerned with was the lack of the communication and the fact that when I talked to ZPD, they had no drawings on file, which is why they had no issue pushing the case back until 4/24, so we can let Juan Carlos speak to all of us and also Zudi, and we can ask him any questions that we need. And then we can go back to the commission with what our final outcome is, whether they accept it or not.
Can I talk to Reno?
Yes, sir, you can.
Yeah, actually, we presented all those things. We talked with the neighbors. I mean, we didn't have too much response from them. And, all the things that we are doing, we are focusing in to preserve everything and except that we have an addition. So just I would like to know if you are going to, give the permit or not. I mean, for to continue with this because we've been taking too long. I mean, to know if we are going to continue with the permit or not because there are too many requests from the city, and now we are here in the ANC.
Okay, well, I appreciate the feedback, Juan Carlos. Typically how it works is, you have your own interactions with the city. Each different single member district or single member area, I should say. So like 1B, anything that falls within 1B has any type of change to the historic nature or zoning or preservation or development of the area, it then falls through what's called the ZPD committee, which is us. We then take a look at what you're proposing, which would be, adding addition to the back of the property. And we would then possibly you'd be able to pull the blueprint up. We can ask questions, ask you some questions, you answer the questions. And then at that point, the ZPD committee, meaning us, would vote on whether or not we are in support or not in support of this happening. And we would bring our findings back to the commission of 1B, which I'm one of the 9 commissioners of. And then we would vote on that at our first Thursday meeting in early April. It's showing here, according to HPRB, case number HPA 2593, which is your case, the hearing date's scheduled right now for 4/24/2025. That's what it's showing me. So no one's holding anything up. We just need to make sure that you've spoken to the community, and that also you could show us some renderings. Can you bring up any drawings at all of what you're proposing?
Can you please let the share screen?
you should be able to, at the bottom of your screen, because you're considered a panelist,
Yeah.
you should be able, if you look at the way bottom, it's either gonna, if you're doing it from your phone, it might be a little different, but there
Yeah,
should be like,
we're on a desktop.
Alan, I can pull it up if he's on the phone.
okay, well, I mean, I appreciate that, Patrick. It should be, again,
It's
it's
telling you somebody has disabled. Is Karen on?
Karen is not on.
Says the host has disabled participant sharing of screens.
Yeah.
Figure that out. Patrick, I just made you co-host, so I think that should hopefully see if that helps.
Right.
Okay, so now everybody can see. Is that on your screen?
I see it now. Yes, Patrick,
Yeah.
it just came up.
Okay, there you go.
Patrick, thank you very much. That was very kind. So Mr. Juan Carlos, why don't you run through these with us? Patrick, is there a way you can blow it up, like make it your full screen? Is that possible?
All right, Alan, don't ask for too much now.
I'm sorry.
I don't see you.
Even if you do in the top right corner, if you open the box like fully, it should
Yeah.
If you press Command or Control K, it might be Control L, but I think if you press Control,
No, that's not
Um,
working.
it should make it full screen. Oh, I guess that only works actually if you're in the Adobe app, which it looks like you're on the
Yeah,
browser.
and I'm not in the Adobe. I'm just sharing a file. I don't think it's because I downloaded. Let me see here what this is. Wait, wait a second.
Or if there's maybe a zoom button on there as well.
No, that's not doing any good.
I'm happy to share my screen. I have it in the app, so I can zoom in and out.
Okay,
easily,
I don't.
if that's okay with you.
Just give me 1 second to unshare.
Okay, Krishna, I also made you co-host, so you
That's
should.
better.
Okay, cool.
Not unsharing. I don't understand why it's not unsharing.
All right. Can everyone see that?
I think it's just taking a second to log
Yeah.
up.
There.
Yes, I can see it.
Great.
Yeah.
It's about the same size, but that's fine.
Yeah, and do you have any questions, or do you want me to go through the project?
I'll leave that up to the committee. I think that that there was more questions directed from the committee. Anyone from the committee like to speak? Mr. Joel, please.
I mean, I think we beat this to death last week. I don't know how much the owner actually heard or was with it, but the main concern, just to summarize it, was the rear facade. Obviously, you're not changing anything with the front. You're doing all the building by right, but it's the rear facade that people are really concerned about. I won't use some of the wording that was used last week. Let's say it's kind of plain. Now, I realize what the floor plan is. On the first floor, you have the kitchen and the space there. And on the second floor, you have the women's restroom, and that window is in a lounge. I guess ultimately the question that I think that everybody in the committee would like to, is there something you can do to kind of make it a more attractive or more kind of the residential kind of keeping facade with some windows and openings in the rear?
But there is no change in the facade.
No, Juan, what Joel was saying is not the facade. The front is fine. He's talking about the back. If you look to the left side of the rendering, there's one window and one door. So he's saying to you that is there any way you can make it look a little more friendlier, not so much like a barn or a shed, like one window.
Absolutely, we can add it. Yeah,
So
windows, you know, and
even siding, different, more
yeah,
welcoming
and
siding.
the siding could be, you know, something more according with the environment. I mean, the surroundings. You know, we can put brick probably.
Okay, so you're saying you could match surroundings from the outside and the back. Joel, does that answer your question fully or no?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see an
Okay.
example, obviously. I wouldn't say it doesn't have to be brick. A lot of additions are done in siding. And I mean, I think historic as it goes is if you're doing an addition, it should look like an addition, not try to mimic. But if you can do a nice rendering, do something in brick, that'd be fine. I don't think I'd insist on having brick. But I mean, just something a little more that has some openings and looks a little more like a used and lived in building kind of thing.
So we can do that.
Yeah, we got a few more windows. We could play around with the design. We could do a hardy plank, with some warmful colors, or even a special cladding as siding. But like,
I think it was the fenestration and the openings, and rather than just a blank wall. I think that was the major kind of uncomfortableness that people had.
right. So,
It may
it's just-
also be the proportions of the window. If you want to think about making it more in keeping.
What was
So,
the last question? Sorry.
So, basically, what in short, like having one window to the left, a door to the left, it just looks very unresidential. So that's what Joel's point, I believe, was. I'd like to move on to Frank. Frank, go ahead, please.
I'd like to defer to Alex and follow him if I could.
Okay, Alex, please.
Hi, y'all. I think some of the other folks talked about the rear facade. I think it's currently a kind of white brick facade on the rear. But I think another main concern was that not all the neighbors were spoken to, and I think would love to have that sort of community engagement. So I live on 9.5 Street, and a few other neighbors I've spoken to on 9.5 Street as well. None of them were alerted, and they would love to meet and discuss and this kind of big project in the neighborhood. I think that's just one important thing to flag. And then, as others mentioned, the rear facade, it looks like a kind of old brick now, and compared to this, so whatever changes can be made, and if something like brick were used, it might also help with soundproofing, which I know is sometimes an issue between 9th Street and 9.5 Street.
Well, what I do recall when we had Steve or Scott here from Preservation Calcut, he had said something along the lines of that the thought was because this is a lounge that it would help mitigate some of the sounds coming from it, having less windows and openings. That's what I took from what Mr. Walcott said at the last meeting. But so you're saying you like to see more windows on the actual back of the building?
I would say it's probably false windows might
There's
be the best
different kinds of
compromise.
windows that can be put in, Alan. And the question that Alex is bringing up is a viewing issue, how it looks from his house and others behind him. Putting windows in, I don't think is specifically the issue, but since this is new construction, there are multiple types of windows that can be put in, and there's a lot of windows that are now soundproof type windows. So they could put windows in that will mitigate that. And the other issue is, although it's not an HBRB issue, but should be noted, that if this is new construction, he should be insulating and making sure that he's putting soundproofing in the new construction inside that would also mitigate the noise.
Fair points, Patrick. Thank you. Mr. Juan Carlos, or Mr. Zudi, do you have any comments or anything on this?
Yes, I have some comment. I have a property on 1939 Street at MK Lounge. And from the back, only have the back door going out. And then 1924, 1922 and the same way. And by having a windows, I'm already getting, without a window, I'm already getting a lot of complaint from 1932. Now, this situation, no matter how much you put the soundproof of a window, the sound still be going. So to the back, they are 9.5 alley. Plus we are pushing back, I think 2 feet from the other people. So that's what I'm afraid of, the future complaint about the sound.
And I mean, I heard two different things. I heard Alex say even like a dummy window, but then to Patrick's point as well, if you're building new construction, there's thicker pane glass. There's things you can do to mediate some of those sounds. Did you say originally? I thought you said 1939 MK Lounge. Is that where you're currently running?
1930.
30. Okay, 1930. Okay, so this is about a couple doors down. Frank, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
And other thing is, and also on 1930, people at a 9.5 street, when we put a light in the back, they come and knock on the door to turn it off. So it's like, two different questions. We want to see a place look better, and because their alley is not accessible, there is no way north or south you can go anywhere. We just alley is more for the trash to put in. So and that's the reason, nothing to see in the back. We've been thinking about doing a rooftop, which they're not gonna allow that, to make it look much better. But that's one of the reasons we don't. There's nothing to see in the back. If the alley was open, and I understand, that would have been. But like you said, if it's a dummy window, that could be done. If that's going to help. Because this process it took about almost definitely 2 years, and just paying a tax and all of that, not doing anything from the DOB. And as far as notifying, the DOB sent us a letter where you can notify your neighbor, which is what they say is that the one on the left and the right, 1924 and 1920, I mail it to them, register, and then I submit that register mail to the city.
All right, Frank, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I will follow up on several matters that were said. Yes, I think hardy board would, from my perspective, be an appropriate siding material. Secondly, that I believe I've seen a pic from somewhere that the current configuration of the backside of the existing building as it exists today is an old row home, and it seems to have lost some windows. I don't know whether it was your prior owner or a current owner that potentially bricked in the windows, but this is historically a row home. And so I think it's important to maintain a row home look. That's the goal on the front side of these buildings when the city is paying attention and when the community is paying attention. And I think that the backside is contiguous with 3 owners. So I'm not certain that the law excludes those 3 owners. I would assert that the back 3 side owners should have been notified too, even though there's no code. We're talking about a gentlemanly agreement with the neighbors about the building going on, because there's no code requirement to contact the adjacent neighbors with an HPRB application. Only a conciliatory, good neighborly approach is requested. There's 2 checkboxes on the application. It says that all the owners were notified. I believe the backside owners that share a contiguous property line, there is no alley, so there is a little bit of a, an incongruent. There's a gray area because they're a contiguous property line and no alley in the back. So I think they want to be contacted. So perhaps leaving this meeting, you can work with the backside owners on everything we've talked about tonight, and in good faith meet with them. And then thirdly, I like the idea, working with noise complainers and operators of complaint facilities that are operating clubs or restaurants, that a false window would be a good idea. If you added 3 false windows on the back side, that would maintain a historical presence, maintaining the historic residential integrity of the neighborhood. And I think that would be a good faith measure, meeting both the sound problem and the contiguous shared lot owners. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Can I
Alex.
add on to that?
Please, by all means.
Okay, so I understand the window that putting in the back. I don't think it's going to be that problem. But what type of window? Is it a window that would open, or just a glass?
Typically, when you have a dummy window, it just from the outside looks like it's a window, but from the inside, there's nothing. So you would have something along the lines of a look like a dark shade or something along those lines. But from the outside, you would see more. And I understand what Frank's saying. Like, so it looks more like a home versus versus how it currently looks on the rendering.
Just like on the club on the 9 and V, they build up a new structure in front of it. It looks like a building, but it's not. It's just artificial look window. That wouldn't be any problem to do that.
Yes, you're speaking of Atlantis on 9th Street.
Yes.
But yes, something probably less expensive or smaller than those windows. But
okay.
But yes, that's a conversation I'd appreciate you to have with the neighbors, perhaps. And I'd probably include in a motion for myself this evening.
Yeah, I know we made over there. You even came to the property once before, I think it was 2 years ago. I mean, we communicate with you guys as well, but I don't know. It's my first time. This is my first property in DC. So I was following up what the contractor is sending me. So he sent me to have the 2 neighborhoods they have to sign, and so I I send it to them. Whether they send it back to the city, I'm not sure. But what I did was register mail. I did that. So if you advise me what to do going forward to the back alley, I'm more than happy to go in or send them a letter or any kind of way. Or do I have to knock on the door, each door, and talking to them? What's your advice?
If I may, I would think. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead. You live on the opposite side. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say I can put my email in the chat, and since I live on 9.5 Street, and then talk to a lot of the neighbors here, and would be happy to meet for coffee and chat about just like what the neighbors' concerns might be, but also like what your plans are with these dummy windows.
And maybe also an updated rendering, right, Alex?
Yes.
Something that actually could show what they're looking to do, right?
Yep.
Okay. Alex, can I make you as a contact maybe, since you
Yeah.
live in the block? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I just dropped my email in the chat. I'm not sure if you can see it. And
I can't see
You
it.
know what? I have Juan Carlos's and Mr. Zudi's information. So what I'll do, Alex, after this, I'll send an email to them with your information. Did you want me
Okay.
just to include your email, or do you want phone number as well?
yeah,
Phone
you
number
can
too.
include my phone number too.
Okay, so I'll send that after this meeting. I appreciate that, Alex, and I appreciate you, Mr. Zudi. Frank, please go ahead.
Yes, and I'm sorry, one more piece that we didn't discuss last time around, last month, but that is the ubiquitously known rat and trash problem in this alley, this area. There's no place to bring trash, to hold trash back there. Folks just aren't working together to get rid of the trash and the rat problem. Trash has to be brought through the building, whether that's the lower level or first level, to the front of the building in order to discard it once or twice or 3 times a week, whatever their trash program is. And my issue is that with a build out, I know we can't ask for this, and it's not HPRB, but this would be sort of a second piece of emotion coming out from tonight. And that is that there's some interior rendering for trash facility so that it's in the house and that we start to bite away at the large trash and rat problem. So I'll be adding a piece, if anybody's making a motion, that though this is other agency jurisdiction, this is not HPRB, which is going to be our main motion, but this will be other agency work, which is DOB and getting rid of my trash problem. I'll amend a motion that comes forward for other agency assistance if we're going in that direction. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I think you got the point over there in the back is really a problem. Even when we take the trash inside, a lot of time the rat goes into the trash bin, and when we put it in, they jump out inside the property. There's a lot of rats. That's because of what happened is in 1932. They blocked the alley. The city allowed them block it. And when we initially talked about, can you hear me? Initially, when they built that area, they were not supposed to block it so that we can take the trash out through the alley. So that is something the city have to talk about it. Well, when you talk about an emergency exits, there is no emergency, like people go in the back, they're going to be trapped, or they have to knock 9.5 Street property because there is no way out. That is a major, thing that the city need to do. Like you say, the trash, having and block. Then now what we're going to do is, if you're asking us to block the trash area, then it's going to block whatever window we're going to put up. So we have to consider which way we want to go. We want to put a shade on for the just like what they call the Nellies they did, but the rats have a way of access to go in. I've seen a ground in front of 1932. The rats. I will send you, Frank, a picture of it, what it looked like. They dug the ground and go inside the property. That's how how bad is that area.
Well,
I think that's
not to interrupt you, but rats in general in DC, they're even worse than I saw them in Manhattan. I think it's the ground. They burrow under a lot of places, and the city has a lot of rats and snakes. But so I think Frank's point is just to make sure that you're doing your diligence with removing garbage on time, keeping a neat, orderly area in the back, not leaving oil. You referenced Nellie's earlier. I don't know. I have a lot of issues with how they keep their property clean and the grease everywhere. But how often, like, are you looking to have your garbage picked up? Is it going to be picked up daily? Like, what does that look like?
I do like MK 6 days a week, except Sunday. They pick up 6 days a week. We don't even fill up as much as we do, but Don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than what it was before, but it's still, if my next door is not getting picked up the same way that I'm doing, I can't force them to get picked up every 6 days a week. That's their business. How much they can afford, that's them. But for me, is taking it out to we take it maybe 2-3 canister. The only a lot of canister we take out Friday night or Saturday night. Other than that, it will be like 2-3 from Monday to Thursday. If the city allow us to put, as you see, Frank, I'm sure you walk around that block, you see so many trash cans sitting in the front. They don't take it to the back. All day, all night, they'll be sitting in the front. I don't want to do that because that's not gonna look right. Look to the city, especially when we say the historic, and having a trash can, 20, 30 trash can sitting in front of the day, 7 days a week. I'm not putting a finger on anybody though.
Alex, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for the commitment around the trash, because I have noticed, and I don't know whose trash this is, but there's a ton of like bulk trash that's just strewn around back there. Like there's those like ropes and posts to set up for a club, but they're just like lying in the dirt, clearly not being used anymore. And then just other miscellaneous like kind of bulk trash in the back there. So I'm excited to hear you say that this commitment to making sure it stays clean back there. And I like Frank's idea of maybe bringing some of that trash inside to mitigate the rats. And then I think I'm not sure, that was going to be my only comment around the trash.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mr. Zudi or Mr. Juan Carlos?
Well, that's a problem from the whole city, I guess. But we didn't think about those things because we've seen the trash cans in front of the building, and we just going to do the same. I mean, but there's another way to do it. We'll find out how to do it.
I have one more question about the front.
Go ahead.
Is there any specific question? I know the window, they broke the window on July 4 last year. I did not fix it, and was it waiting until I get the permit? Is there any question as far as the paint color, or we can paint this, you can paint that? Do you guys have any preference? Because like I said, it's taking 2 years. Just paying a mortgage every month is that's a lot of money. I'm spending all my money. What I save for construction, it goes to just the mortgage. Is there any specific color you cannot paint this color? Or I've seen too many colors on that block. I've been there, over 20 years on 900 block.
Well, I'm going to ask Patrick, who's Patrick and Joel have both been 15 years plus in zoning. Patrick, you have any comments or feedback? I mean, I don't think we could dictate on what color. I mean, as long as it's not bright pink or purple or blue, or I just think that we're getting a little bit into.
No, they're going to have to follow whatever HPO does. They're obviously not going to let them have a crazy color. It's got to be a muted color, and then as long as
I've argued for years, and Steve has agreed with this finally, that HPO has no control over color. They'll say for brick and things, but for paint colors, no, because who's supposed to say historical? I mean, somebody painted the 1930s garage bright pink. So that's historical. It may be ugly, but then it's historical. Do you want them to keep that? So we've always said that paint colors were totally up to the owners. That historic doesn't have any purview over that.
Well, I mean, I feel pretty good the fact that Mr. Zudi is asking us in general. I don't think he's planning on, painting up the town red. So I think that satisfies that need. And Patrick, you have anything else you'd like to add on top of what Joel just said?
No, I don't have anything more at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Frank, your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say I believe there's no oversight or regulation regarding paint color. However, Mr. Zistik,
Frank,
Box,
you-
hold on.
No, your thing cut out. We couldn't hear what you said. That's what.
Can you hear me?
I'm trying to, now I can hear you. Yes, you cut out for like about 30 seconds.
I don't like the undertaking where some taverns or lounges have added plastic boxwood frontage on historic buildings. I find that to be non-historic. I believe there's no real ruling on it, but the boxwood plastic was removed from one of your other properties on the frontage, and I appreciate that. I don't think there's a regulation against it because they sort of overlook it, but I don't find that to be historic to have plastic leaves. So I appreciate you not having plastic leaves all over the front, and I'm not going to comment on the color because that's your choice. Thank you.
Now, unless my wife want a pink, but I don't like pink color anyway.
Okay, this is great. Listen, only due to timing and
Christian, can
everything
you
else.
please stop sharing this so we can see everybody on the screen? Since we're not looking at these diagrams anymore. Thank you.
All right, so at this point, do we have anything else that we'd like to discuss regarding this property? And if so, any motions, Frank, anything that you wanna do that we can bring up for the next commission meeting on the first Thursday of next month, which is looks like the 3rd, April 3rd. Alex, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
Point of order, Alan, I just wanted to know, so we're certain that the item's been taken off the 27th HPRB meeting, because I saw an email 2 weeks ago that this case was on the HPRB meeting notice for the 27th of this month. Has anybody removed it from the 27th of this month?
Yeah, I just think they didn't update their information because I talked to Steve, and Steve said that they were not ready at all, and I even talked to Manya Price too. So that's why it was pushed back, because we were concerned that Patrick and I were talking that if we had this meeting tonight, and that's why we were rushing to try to get them in last time on the last call, because we saw originally the date was the 27th, and we knew we weren't meeting until the 17th again, and then we wouldn't be able to meet with the commission in general. So this is pushed back. I mean, I'll reconfirm with Steve, but I'm positive that that's what he told me. It was pushed back for a hearing date of 4/24 of 2025.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So do we have to be in it on the meeting?
Well, what I could say to you is, depending on the outcome tonight, you're more than welcome to come to the 1B commission meeting, which is the first Thursday. Again, you could just go to the 1B website, which I can email you that as well. Not a problem. And the first meeting is on the May 1st, which is Thursday. I'm sorry, I'm in April. April 3rd, which is a Thursday. That would be the first commission meeting. And that would be like where the commission is going to say, agree with whatever is decided here or not agree. And then if just say they don't agree with something, this is your chance to also speak to the commissioners directly, me and 8 other commissioners. But let's see what comes out of this call. Our idea is to be completely transparent. So we're working with you guys. That's why I was hunting down Juan Carlos for the last couple of weeks. I just want to make sure everyone has their fair share. And I do understand how it is to work in the city. In 2 years you've been dealing with this. I can only imagine it's not a good time. So with that said, Alex, I see your hand raised. Please, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, and would love help from Patrick, Joel, Frank, other veteran committee members, but thinking about like a potential motion here around waiting to like give our recommendation or stamp, whatever, and pending the community meeting with the 9.5 Street folks, as well as the updated rendering for the back. And I'm not sure quite how to phrase that as a motion.
That's good, but as the chair, I can't.
Let me just say it this way, Alex, and all due respect to Mr. Degree about his issues with the city, but that's not our problem here. We're not concerned about issues relating to timing and whether or not he can't get things through. We're just trying to have a chance to look and review things. I would say that you're not going to have the opportunity to push this down the road any further than what has been pushed. We've already well exceeded the window for pushing. It was on the agenda for December. It was pushed once in December, and then it was pushed again. So it's been pushed down the road already 3 times, or
Yes,
three months. So
that's correct, Patrick. And we
so
only have 45 days, I believe, from when it's.
We need to make sure that unless there is any real major issue with what's being proposed, I would suggest that you include in your motion, Christian, if you're going to do it, or Alex, sorry, that the committee recommends supporting the project with certain caveats, that it reaches out to abutting neighbors as was promised, and that it shows the drawings of changes that were recommended by the committee, specifically the windows, and that it is also a concern of the committee as it relates to ongoing non-HBRB issues, i.e. the trash concerns on that block. And I think there was one other thing.
Noise mitigation.
The insulation or noise proofing. So your recommendation to state it would be that the committee, and I'm just giving you information, I'm not putting words in your mouth here. The committee is recommending to the full commission that it support the application for conceptual design and alteration for 1922 9th Street with specific comments as follows, and then you would note those things that you want to say. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Patrick. I motion. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Alex, only because you know what, this is my 3rd term, and I still struggle with motions. I mean, it's a long process. Joel did a great job our last meeting. Frank, as a commissioner, do you want to help him out with this one? We have windows, ongoing HPRB, trash concerns, insulation, noise proofing are the 3 comments. Alex, unless you want to do it, I was just trying to help. That's it.
Yeah, I'd like to let Alex take a stab
I
here.
was going to say, I
we
think Alex should try. He was the one that chimed in last time, and I knocked him out. So we don't want to make all our committee members not want to do anything here. They've got to learn. So if he does something wrong or says something incorrect, we can modify it. That's not an issue.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Alex. You're live.
Okay. So I move the committee recommend supporting this application,
To the full committee.
noting, sorry, what?
To the full commission.
To the full commission with the caveats of
You have to state the address just so it's on record. 1922 9th Street.
for
Yep.
1922 9th Street with the caveats of an updated back facade rendering showing dummy windows or some other alternative to match the historic character of the neighborhood. A meeting with the local resident community on 9.5 Street to discuss some, in addition to the historic concerns, also some other neighborhood concerns, including pest control, noise, and light pollution, and trash or waste removal.
And anything with noise or noise proofing insulation.
And with noise proofing and insulating, especially the back of the house that abuts the residences.
Can I add a comment on this?
Okay, so
We first have to. He had
made
stated
a
his
motion.
motion. Someone needs
Now
to second it.
To second that first.
I second it.
Second.
Okay, so it's been seconded by.
Now you have
Vice Chair.
discussion on the motion.
Now, go ahead, Mr. Zudi.
Yes, as far as the sound that I heard, nobody complained from 9.5 Street. I've been there over 15 years as a restaurant before, and then 8 years is as a lounge, and not even one single person complained about the noise. The trash, I understand, and I complain as well. Even the health department, they came in, I complained for them, and they're not doing nothing about it. If I keep my thing clean or put it inside or whatever, it's not. I'm not the only one. There are 6, 7 businesses they doing, the regular thing. The only thing is if I do it, it's going to be me. But still, there's going to be all kind of problem in the back. So I'm more than happy to walk you through, all of you, 9.5 Street or the community, where we can walk through and see where the problem is. Maybe we should enforce everyone so that rat problem will be, getting rid of. And in the city, you have to help on this as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a fair comment, but again, right now we're talking about your property in 1922. Otherwise, I can go through a whole city go through every address in the city with issues. So we're not trying to worry about other places. We're talking about your place right now. I see 2 hands up. I think Frank's hand was up first, but Frank, I haven't really heard from Vice Chair Brandt. So I'd like to hear from Christian. Christian, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks. So this is actually just about something that Jason mentioned in the chat, which I think makes sense, but I just thought I would mention it, that the applicant do the things in the motion, or that we recommend that the applicant do the things in the motion that we're talking about before the next ANC meeting, if that's possible. So that way, if people want to follow up on this, they can do so at the next ANC meeting and not miss out on follow-up because it's not coming back before the ZPD. That I don't know. I think that probably would have to be like an amendment to the stated motion, I'm assuming, but I think that makes sense unless it's really complicating the time frame here. I don't think it is, but
Thank you, Christian. Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just second what Christian said, and was going to say, actually, mention Jason's recommendation there. So if we could, if someone's going to pose an amendment and Alex accepts this amendment, I would second it. But I just wanted to say, and I do as a longtime member or a resident a block away, that there's decades-long problems with trash management and no alley access. And so I would ask Mr. Zudi, just as a collegially and outside of the framework of this ANC, but that their 1900 block of 9th Street Business Association convene to resolve this problem. I mean, you guys have this association, and it would be nice if everybody stepped up in this block because all of the neighbors would appreciate it. So whatever you can do, Mr. Zudi, with your 9th Street folks and Shaw Main Streets to rectify this ubiquitous problem down this alley, the 1900 block, it's appreciated. But again, this is me talking outside of the ANC right here, right now. And
Okay, thank you, Frank. Now we start meeting every Wednesday on 1900 block, talking about the.
I'm going to interrupt, Mr. Chairman. This has gotten way off the motion. There's
Yeah.
usually not a discussion during the portion of a motion.
No, I appreciate that, Joel.
A motion that's been seconded, comments, and
now
you want
there's
to
going to
make a friendly
modification.
amendment to the motion, correct?
That's
Yes,
what
I
my
can make the
understanding
friendly
was.
amendment if that's.
So his amendment is to require the applicant to meet with the neighbors and explain and show the changes prior to the ANC meeting.
Yes, and I would include provide the updated rendering.
Yeah, well, I would assume he.
You never know.
And I'm sorry, and by chance, do you agree to that friendly amendment,
Yep.
Alex?
Yes.
Okay, so now that the agreement's been made, can we have a second on this motion?
I second.
With the
It's already been seconded.
Yeah, I know, but we might have modifications, so just playing it safe. All right, so then let's if
Frank
you can with
seconded that.
all right, so all of those in favor, this is really hard to do because I don't see the whole screen, but I'm just gonna go through it. Joel, yes or no?
You're on mute.
Yeah, I thought just raising the hand was enough. Okay, yes.
For some reason not showing the full panel. So all right, so Joel, you're a yes. Okay. Jason Bello?
Yes.
Okay. Frank Chauvin?
Yes.
Thank you. Alex Smith?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Niani?
Yes.
Hong. Okay, great.
Yes.
And we have Miss Karen Brugman.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to vote myself. Vice Chair Brandt.
Yes.
Great. And last, Mr. Bruce Flippins.
I think he's dropped off.
Okay. Anyone against this? Okay, 0 no's and any abstentions? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so with 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstention, the motions with the modification is passed. Are you clear, Mr. Zudi and Juan Carlos, in the next steps and what you need to do?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I'm very clear. Yeah.
Okay. Again, rendering's huge. Getting out to the public's huge. I'm going to send you after this call an email just outlining, the information as discussed earlier, so you can speak with Alex, and Alex can coordinate something for you guys to meet. I would get on that rendering like ASAP because we are running out of time. Be it the 24th is your hearing. So I will bring this back to the full commission, letting them know that there's 7 yeas, 0 and 0. All right, we are good with with property 1922. I would like to move on without objection to case number 2 with Mr. David Meyer, Karen Kamarski, and Miss Evelyn Pierce.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Pierce Smith. I'm here with Karen Kazmarzak and David Meyer. I'm butchering it too. I apologize. Of 1103 and 1105, and I'll share my screen.
And a
It
point of
says
order.
request.
Well,
Yes, point of order is recognized. Go ahead, Frank.
I'm sorry, preceding the start of new business, I guess Mr. Zudi and Mr. Lazar could leave if they'd like, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, that's why I told them, asked them what they need, made sure they understood what they needed. Yeah, as far as they're concerned, they're done. They're good. Put a fork in them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Zudi, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you
Go
very
ahead.
much. Please send me the info.
Okay. I apologize. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong button. Okay, so we are at 1103 and 1105 S Street Northwest. As you can see here, the closest cross street, and excuse me, I keep on clicking, is 11th Street. Across the street from us is Garrison. There you go. Here you go. Garrison Elementary School here. We have a back alley here. So we have two adjacent neighbors, 1101 and 1107. 1101, they've both been texted and emailed. 1101 has said good luck and did not have any comments. 1107 is planning on reviewing the drawings this week and will get back to us on if they have any comments. But let me. So here we are with the two buildings, 1105, 1103. Just to give you context, this is 1101, this is 1107 here. Here are the two houses here, 1105 and 1103. This is 1101. And this is 1107, which already has a pop-up here. So we were proposing to combine these two properties. We're not going to change the front facades except to update the front pathways and add a retaining wall and fencing in the front. And then in the rear, we are taking down an existing addition on 1105 and then building a new two-story addition on 1105 and 1103 here. So if you want to see the existing, this is the existing addition here at 1105. It's only a one-story. So we will be replacing that with a two-story here. You can see the 1107 adjacent to it right here. So here is the proposed plan with the combined two residences with the addition in the rear. We're going to do a bay window just to try to mimic some sort of historic feeling to the rear. And then combining the two lots in the back and adding a little parking space for a small car to get in and out of the alley. I can skip to the facades. So here's the existing facades, 1105 here, 1103 here. And we are going to be replacing the windows with clad and wood double hungs with a 2/2 mutton pattern to mimic the neighbors on 1107 and 1101. Here is the existing rear elevations. They are both brick except for that one addition in the back. And the proposed front elevations here with the new windows, the new retaining walls. And then we're going to do a pop-up on the third story to allow for a roof deck. The paneling will be hardy plank, but will be the German lap siding to try to mimic some historic feeling to it. And the railings in the front and rear will be glass so that you cannot see them. The rear facade will also be the hardy plank, but in the German lap siding. And then we will also continue to use the clad and wood double hungs with the 2/2 pattern. And then this is the bay window here that we popped up so that they can also have a small little deck area in the rear. And then this is that third story that come out for the roof deck here. And that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions?
Can you
You
show
might want
us?
to point, you might want to point out that the pop-up on the third floor or whatever we call that is actually set way back from both.
Yes, it is. Oh, that's a very good point to make, is that we made sure that so here's the front of the buildings here, and this is the front yard. I'm sorry, there's too many. But this is the sidewalk, 16th Street, and then the sidewalk across the street where the Garrison Elementary is. At a 6-foot person, we've set it back so there would not be a view except at a discrete angle of the pop-up here.
Sorry, not be a view except for what angle?
Like if you get it very further back, like if you get down 11th Street, you
Yeah,
would
I
be
see.
able to see it, but you would not be able to see it from across the street.
I have some other questions, but I don't want to be. I don't know if anyone.
Let her finish her presentation first.
And if you want to see some of the views too, if you go back, I tried to take some photos. So this is right in front of the houses, so you can see this pop up. You would not be able to see the pop up from here. But if you were back, what I was saying is if you were back here, like across the intersection, you're going to be able to see a little bit of the third story here.
Understood.
Okay.
Does David or Karen have anything they'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Thanks, David.
We love,
Evelyn?
other than that, we love the neighborhood and we want to preserve the historic character above all else.
Oh, then why are we even here? Case closed. Everyone. We're gonna. No.
There you go.
So, yeah, all peace and harmony. Okay, Jason, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. It seems very thoughtful, overall. Can you, although I will tell you, I have had trouble myself with glass railings in historic because they complain about the reflection of the light. So we'll see. Can you can you go back to the plan view of the third floor?
Hmm?
Okay. And so the setback line is where on here?
So here's the front of the building. Sorry, this AI assistant keeps on. The front of the building is here. We were backing it off 16 and 3+ inches so that the front of the pop-up is here. And then the railings would be 3 feet in front of that.
Okay. I think given I mean, as a general thing, like I'm not a huge fan of having the roof decks extend towards the front of the house. Is there like, but I think the setback is so deep that it's fine, in my opinion. But I would love perspectives from others. That really was my question, was just whether the front part was going to be intended to be usable. And my understanding is basically the first 16, I guess it's more like 13 feet.
15 feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the intention, just so to a little explanation, is the main use would be for the rear of the roof deck, but to allow a lot of light, since this is south facing, to come into this area. So just to have a little walkway here, and that's merely what it is, a walkway, and then you use this portion of the roof deck.
Yeah, I mean, you can have the light without it being a usable roof deck, but I still think it's fine because of the depth. But I'd like others to weigh in on that. But otherwise it looks fine to me. And yeah, otherwise it looks fine to me.
Both of these properties have well, look like you're asking to combine the two row homes
Yes.
into one,
Yes.
construct 2-story with cellar addition.
Hmm.
And then the how is how is that going to work? I mean, just so I'm trying to understand, like, you're actually going to look to taking down what to make what?
To try to give you so in terms of the front, you would use one door to enter the residence, and this door would basically end up becoming a false door, but keeping them to keep the facade. We're going to be breaking the existing bearing wall to join the two. And then in the rear, it's more of the open, because this is the addition, is more of the open floor plan in a sense, is that's already a combined situation, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, it does. Makes sense. Anyone else on the committee have any questions?
Evelyn, I know this is probably a bizarre question and I should know the answer to it, but I think I read in your application that you've already spoken to
Yes. I'm also blinking on the committee. Talk to.
When to think of the right word. Spoken to somebody in the Department of Buildings or zoning.
Yeah, the surveyor's office of Department of Buildings. Yes.
Right. For
And we've started the process. The owners already own both properties.
Right.
And so through the surveyors, we are going through the process of joining the two into one lot.
Okay, because my understanding, and I'm sure this probably has changed, is that they stopped allowing people to do that years ago. So I'm surprised. I was surprised when I saw this that it's being allowed to happen. So, I mean, I'm not against it. I will say that I'm not against it, but it's be interesting to see when they've changed their minds on allowing houses to be conjoined. Because I remember, I mean, I've lived in my house for almost 30 something years. And I remember when there was one done in Columbia Heights, and there was a huge uproar within the government about how they got it done and why they did it and all that stuff. So be interesting to find out when that has changed and what made it change. And I'll let everybody else ask questions. I have some technical questions that I might ask, but I'll let the
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Joel, you're up next.
Yeah. First question is, have you spoken with anyone at the Historic Preservation Office yet about this?
I've sent it to through the HPRB system, because we're set to meet in March 27th. And so Imani has seen it, Steve Calcutt has seen it, and Tony, but we've not had like a direct dialogue about it.
So they've had no comments directly to you about this?
No.
Okay. This block has been a problem for a while, since the house next to you did that lovely little bastardization up on top. The problem with the assumption I'm getting that it was only allowed because it was eventually assumed that the others on the block would do the same kind of thing. And I'm wondering, why are you not doing that? Because this addition sits back, it's going to be visible.
The reason why we're not doing it the way they have it is because it doesn't meet existing zoning laws. So we were just trying to meet existing or current, I should say, current zoning laws.
What doesn't that meet it in?
It's
probably over 35 feet, but
it's over 35 feet, but also the way they start immediately from the front and not being, projected back.
They did that before the 2016 rewrite, Joel. So
right. Yep.
The changing in the architectural setback from the front was put into the 2016 regs.
Well, it's not in the regs anywhere. That's just it. It is not in the regs. It was the zoning administrator just arbitrarily decided that it had to be 3 feet back, which is absurd. And there's nothing in the regs that mandates that. So yeah, because we've gone back and forth with them many times this, because the way that is done is much better than sitting it back 3 feet. Anyway, my point was to help that not look so hideous. And like I said, it would be eventually envisioned that all the 2-story homes would add a 3rd-story addition. And while you're kind of doing it, you're not really, and it is going to be visible from, granted, from the technical evaluation that historic uses is standing across the street, not visible straight on. But I've also been denied things because if you were standing further away, you can see it. I don't know that this would ever be denied. I just don't think it's, I don't think it's in conforming to the guidelines. I mean, the blank, just standard 6-foot sliding door with hardy plank siding, it's just unimaginative. And I hate to use the phrasing that other people have used on other projects, but it looks like there's a shed sitting on top of the building. I would like to see something a little more thoughtfully designed, if it is going to be there, because it will be visible. I mean, that's my concern. Everything else, the back and everything you're doing, conjoining the site, I don't know where the idea of not ever joining properties came from. I mean, because you're allowed, it's property rights, if you do it. That's my only concern, is that you are going to see it, and I don't think it's thought very well through as far as being an architectural element of the building.
Bill, thank you for that. Appreciate the comment. I believe Frank had his hand up next. Frank, go ahead.
Yes, just building upon comments that came before me from committee colleagues. Is there a rendering we can see? Because I was sort of agreeing with Jason that set back enough. However, I think it's important to look at the treatment of the pop-up on the left. Is it 1105, the left building? 1107, to see that it's in some kind of, integral conformance with a residential Victorian neighborhood per se. So, I mean, perhaps it's ensuring we have double hung looking window like doors, that look like doors, maybe that would suffice. But I don't see a rendering of it per se at face on. Do we have that? We could just take a look at. So I guess there's no real detail here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can speak for one of them to say that we hadn't addressed the question of detail on that, and the desirability of having an architectural element to that is something that, at least speaking for myself, would be an attribute, not a demerit. So I appreciate that comment.
Yeah, we can definitely develop that.
Thank you. Oh, other than that, I would just want to say thank you for the investment in the community. And, of course, we'd like to see people still believing in our neighborhood, and this sort of supports that. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Jason, you had your hand raised up. It's no longer raised. Do you need to say anything?
So look, I think it could be certainly more inspired, but I also think it is a more modern functional space on the roof, and it's generally good for additions to really actually feel like an addition, especially if, as is done here, steps have been taken to distance it from the original architecture. So, I don't think it needs to be that inspired, and you're not going to see it that much. Like, the only question I would have is just, are we in historic comfortable with having a large front railing that's all glass, and the reflection that comes from that may draw attention to the new addition. Otherwise, I'm totally fine with the addition itself.
Is there a material or a style that the committee as a whole or individuals think is better than glass? I think we assumed glass was going to be the least noticeable, but we don't have a strong view.
I'm personally okay with it. I mean, and if HPRB is okay with it and the other committee members are okay with it, like, I think glass is fine. I think what a lot of folks have used is like tension wire as something that sort of like disappears and is also a little easier to maintain and keep clean than glass. But, you know, that's just from one homeowner to another.
But that's a stainless steel wire you're talking about?
It's like the super thin wire. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I mean, in this situation, I don't think glass is so good because you are so far back. That
Yeah,
you really
that's
you really
exactly.
won't see. If it would have been right up at the cornice, then I'd have a real problem with it. But it is back. I don't think even from a distance, I don't think you will see it.
Right, because it's
as
only
much.
3 feet up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally fine with it. It's just, you know.
All right, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Joel. If we could now see, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have one more hand up. Niani, please go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, I just had the same comment that Joel did, which is, you know, with it being 13 feet setback, like I think the material is almost irrelevant here, since I doubt that you'd be able to see it. I think, like, you know, in this case, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but that's just my opinion.
I don't see any other hands raised at this point. Anyone have any further discussion or questions? No, okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
Alan, let me just interrupt for just 1 second.
Yeah, please.
Evelyn, can you, this does not have anything to do with HBRB, but can you tell me on the rear of the house, that addition that's on the house on the other side, how far back that goes?
Oh, are you talking about 1107?
Yeah.
It's here. It's measured. It basically the addition on 1103 and 1105 will be short of 1107.
Okay, and do you know what that is, feet wise? So the house that's on the other side of the thing, this wall that we're seeing here is the end of that house?
No,
The end of the house here, yes.
that's a 7.
What about the other
01
side?
01 is the other side, which is shorter than what they're
Right.
proposing.
It's
Okay.
right. Yeah, it's slightly shorter here.
So you're really just filling in from the back of the two houses, the old house, you're filling that space in with a new structure.
It looks like it's well under 10 feet.
Yeah,
below-
it is.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand the drawings because I couldn't figure it out when I looked at it.
Yes, Patrick, the controlling factor here is if they're doing it by right, they need a 25 yard. There's
Right.
a 20 foot rear setback and can't extend 10 feet. So they've got their 10 feet. They're not going 10 feet. And I guess, is that a dimension back there?
Yeah, that's just but from the rear property line, 20 feet ends up being about here.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so they meet all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure I was understanding the drawings, that's all.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
Jason.
All right, I move that the ZPD committee of ANC 1B recommend that the full ANC support the HPRB application HPA 25-178 for the properties at 1103 and 1105 S Street Northwest.
as presented.
As presented.
No other, nothing else.
No notes, as the kids say.
Thank you, Joel. And thank you for the motion, Jason. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Great. Let's go through it again. Thanks, Niani, for the second. So, Joel, go ahead.
Abstain.
Jason.
Yes.
Okay. Frank. Frank Chauvin.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Okay. Alex.
Yep.
Okay. Niani.
Yes.
Thank you. Myself, I'm not. Miss Karen with a Y.
Yes.
Vice Chair Brandt.
Yes.
Okay. Bruce Flippins. I don't know if he's back on the call or not. I'm going to assume not. Okay. Okay, so out of the nine participants present tonight, we have a total of 6 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. So the yeas have it, and the motion passes. Okay, well, thank you guys very much, David.
Thank you.
And Evelyn. Evelyn, also your communication's been great with us, and I really appreciate it. And also, I wish you guys went first, so then the last people could have understood how it's typically done. So I do appreciate your guys' time, and you guys are more than welcome to hang up at this point, unless anyone else has anything else for them.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into the next part, which is other business. Now, typically, we're Patrick and Frank and myself, and a lot of people are trying to make sure we have people coming to these different meetings. We're trying to get DOB. Again, I sent another message to them today asking them to come to our 21st meeting, which is the third week in April. Again, I'm going to be a little more forceful with some calls, but on top of that, I know we're working to also have zoning come in, but that we had no guest speakers today besides me being 8 minutes late. I apologize again. Jason Bello has brought up a couple of times about wanting to know who the committee members are and how, just as a positive nature and what they do. And so want to give a lot of credit to Patrick Nelson, who literally took all the bios and took the time, hours this weekend putting this all together, which went out earlier. But I figured, Jason, if you want to go ahead and take this over, as I told you earlier this morning, you're more than welcome to.
Sure. Look, so I thought if we had maybe just 15 or 20 minutes, since we spent a lot of time together, it'd be nice to get to know each other a little bit. And, simply, who you are, what brought you, what's your relationship to the neighborhood? So, what brought you to the committee? And also, it'd be really nice to hear about what people really care about. I know a lot of us care about different things, whether it's historic or affordable housing or businesses or whatever. It's nice to know kind of where folks are coming from, as we are going to need to collaborate on many things going forward. So maybe let me ask what folks think of that, and if those are the right set of questions, and then maybe we just go around the horn and introduce each other.
Okay, so I like that. I appreciate it. Why don't we just do it in order? Mr. Joel Heisey, if you have anything else you'd like to add, go ahead.
How did I become the first all of a sudden? Is this just longevity?
No, it's out of respect. We usually go from the smartest, so I'll be going last. No, Joel, just your 1B01, you're first on the list.
Okay. Actually, I'm 1B01 because I have an investment property in LaJoy Park. And I've been doing this for God knows how long, Patrick. How long have we been doing this?
We're the old timers.
Yeah. We started this before there actually was a committee here. And then we kind of resurrected it. We got that done. I'm, like I said, architect that has done more policy work than actual design work. But now I do currently do design work, additions, things like that, renovations. Also have a degree, in urban design as well. So you asked what priorities are. I like to focus on, the architectural design and images. That's why this last project, I wasn't going to deny it, but I couldn't support it. I just didn't think they put any thought into actually making it try to look like any architectural feature that belonged there. They just slapped up something that was easy. and that irritates me sometimes. And it's not, we don't have a lot of control over it, but I like to try to at least encourage it. Otherwise, yes, affordable housing. Always been a proponent for that. Other than that, if you have any other questions, answer. Oh, the other thing is, like Patrick and everybody keeps saying, I do several zoning cases, so I'm rather familiar with the residential zoning issues as well. If you ever have questions or something about that. Otherwise, I won't take up any more time on that, unless you have any other questions or something you'd like to know.
Well, I think that was great. Appreciate you and really appreciate your services. Before I became a commissioner 3 terms ago, I remember you being on these calls and you always add great value and what we call great weight. So we're really appreciative of you being here and continuing on, because I'm sure you have a lot of other things to do on a Monday evening. So thank you for that.
I'm just arrogant enough. I'm arrogant enough to think my opinion means something.
But it does, though. That's the thing. You're not arrogant at all. I appreciate that, Joel. Mr. Jason Bello, you're up. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you. So I'm the junior member from 1B01. I live in LaDroit Park, about 2 blocks away from Joel's investment property. And I've been on the committee since 2020. I joined the committee when there was a project in my community that went to HPRB, despite being totally not in keeping with the community. And HPO actually supported it at the time. And thanks in part to this committee and to the community, actually HPRB, doing what they almost never do, overrode HPO and asked the developer to redesign the building entirely. And it's at least the addition is now built. The full project, we'll see what ends up happening with it. But it's a much nicer addition than it would have been. And so I thought, okay, I want to do that for other projects as well. So I joined the committee after that. And so, yeah, what I care about, I care a lot about historic preservation. We live in a pretty special area that has a lot of DC history and American history, and in particular, Black American history that isn't necessarily as celebrated in other places. And I think it's important for us to respect that. And then apart from that, I do care a lot about density, specifically inclusive of affordable housing, but I think it's important to bring more people into our community and all the things that come with it, restaurants and shops and offices and so on. Now I'm trying to think, I think I answered all of my own questions. But yeah, that's me.
Jason, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mr. Frank Chauvin, you're up next.
Yes, good evening. I am here, been here sitting on the committee for 6 years, been in the neighborhood for 33 of my 34 years, so within a few blocks from U Street. This entire adulthoodship that I'm happy to call this place my home. And I don't want to leave it. And 6 years ago, when I joined this committee, I had on the forefront of my talking points the arts overlay. And lots of folks on this call know I iterate this issue persistently and all the time, everywhere, all at once. And I think we have a failure on our hands of the arts overlay. Nobody's been watching it since 1989 when the arts overlay was implemented. I believe that there are 33 by right uses, and we have pretty much one use, which is a 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monoculture that has diminished an arts use, which was the reason the arts overlay was instituted, with 33 uses, one of them being eating, drinking, so bars, restaurants. Well, it's not working. It's a centrifugal force for a 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Culture that doesn't respect the adjacent neighborhoods where I live. We have people partying on our front stoop at all hours. It's too many people right next to a residential zone, especially off of 9th and U. And I am about my work on 3 committees. I've been serving on 3 committees for these 6 years, including this one, is to rebalance, work at ways to rebalance, whether it's through the comprehensive plan review that's just starting up again, or whether it's through an amendment, such as a text amendment, to bring the 1900 block of 9th Street on to the arts overlay, which has a ceiling on U Street facing properties and 14th Street facing properties of 50% eating, drinking only. They can't exceed that. Well, in the 1900 block, we have probably 70%. I'd like to cut it back. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'd like to at least have that amendment applied, a text amendment applied to the 1900 block of 9th Street to rebalance the problem with my 500, 1,000 neighbors who have the same problem I do. So I care deeply about a balanced neighborhood, one that serves both the business interests and the residential interests. And that's what I sit here for. That's what I sit on the other committees for. However, we can do that and partake in the comprehensive plan review that's coming up shortly, just starting up out of Office of Planning, and perhaps we can do something here on that. I'm not sure what it will be because there's been no real conversation here. We're sort of deferring to the Economic Development Committee perhaps to partake in that, but I'm hoping we can partake in that somehow. And then secondly, actually, that's really it. I'm glad to be working with all of you and the committed new neighbors to ensure that we can stay and live here and age here. And I appreciate your work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you for being part of the committee for 6 years and all of your hard work and dedication you have to the 1B area and all DC itself. Alex, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I guess I'm also a junior member from 1B02. I live on 9.5 Street and have lived here, I want to say, since 2021. So that's 4-ish years. I really love this neighborhood. There's so much I love about it, but a big part of it is having also spent a decent chunk of my life living in Atlanta and driving a car every single day. I have loved our dense, walkable TCB, beautiful Victorian row home, cute All Souls bar down, like all of this beautiful commercial, residential, historic architecture, green space, just like medley in one spot has been a really life-giving. It's been a wonderful and life-giving place to live. And so I joined this committee to help continue that feeling for myself, but also for others.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate your time and explaining that. And Mr. Niani, you're up next.
Hey there, I'm in Niani Hong. I been here since last year. I knew former Commissioner Tucker Jones, who thought that it would be good for me to serve on this committee. I have a lot of interests that have to do with this. My day job is I'm an economist in the federal government. So it's been a tough time for some of us. Yeah, I'm very interested in housing. I did my PhD at Berkeley, so housing costs, affordable housing has really been a big interest of mine. So that's kind of the reason that I'm on this committee. So I think one thing that I'm really interested in is both affordable housing, but also making housing more affordable as well. Alex just mentioned it earlier. I think it's really important that we have, dense, walkable neighborhoods. I think the U Street neighborhood is a really great example of that. Despite our, rat problem and our trash problem, I think it's like a really, great place to live. I think it's a place that I really want to, share with kind of other people. So I'm really in support of you know, dense neighborhoods, but also, you know, making sure that they get done the right way. So that's kind of the reason that I've been on this committee, and I've really enjoyed learning from others, especially from, you know, Joel and Jason and some of the folks who are, you know, architects and more into the historic preservation part, which I know, you know, much less about. So it's been a learning experience on those parts for me.
Awesome. I really appreciate you giving us some insight, and I'm glad you're a part of the team. Karen with a Y, and I'd love for you to correct me how I say your last name, please.
I was gonna say you can say Karen with a Y. Last name is Bruggeman.
Bruggeman. Okay, got it.
Karen, despite the spelling. Hi everyone. It's really nice to meet you. I know I'm extremely new relative to some folks who've been on this committee for a long time. I live on 15th and Belmont on Meridian Hill Park, and I jokingly tell myself that I could never afford to live in New York, and this is the closest I'll come to living on our equivalent of Central Park. But I love it. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I grew up in Vienna, Virginia, and I lived in DC for about 7 years, moved away to Boston for a couple of years. And then when I moved back, I knew I wanted to live in this neighborhood because it's walkable, it's dense, it has everything you need in close proximity, and it's just a really nice place to live. And so I work at the Treasury Department in my normal daytime hours, and I actually work on small business programs, but I've previously worked kind of in a think tank based at Drexel that focused a lot on place-based economic development. And so we did projects all over working with cities on both small business development, but also housing and commercial corridors. But so some projects in West Philly. But I think I kind of wanted to get involved because I've tackled development issues from kind of like a macro, like 30,000 foot view, like, and I just really wanted to get a better understanding of how it all plays out at like the hyper local level. And this has been really educational so far. In the first 2 meetings, it's been really, really interesting, and I'm really glad to be here. But I think I will say I have no eye for aesthetic dimensions of construction projects. I don't know how to read floor plans. I think I more have an eye for really being pro-density, affordable housing, wanting strong commercial corridors with diverse businesses. And I think, you know, even just walking up on Euclid Street, I know there's a affordable housing project that was supposed to open last year, but is still under construction, and just feeling some level of concern over why things take so long, why it's so hard to build things, why it's been, and I think coming back after not having lived here for a couple of years, there was like a huge boom in development, which was like super noticeable after not living here for a couple of years. So just wanted to get involved. I think I have a lot to learn, but also want to be an advocate for especially lower income neighbors and density and preserving. There's obviously a lot of amazing history with U Street. But yeah, happy to be here and happy to learn.
And we're really happy to have you. You definitely have some style because you got it looks like a Frontera plant behind you. So I know you got some,
there you go.
I can't keep mine alive, but that's awesome.
Some aesthetic taste, yeah.
So you do. See, but the point is, you do. I just hope you don't like the Red Sox, but we'll move on. I really appreciate it, Ms. Bruggeman, Karen with a Y. Now we're going to go on to Vice Chair Brandt. Please go ahead.
Hey everyone. I know I introduced myself like a little bit 2 meetings ago or 1 meeting ago, but my name's Christian. I live on Chapin Street, sort of 2/3 up the block towards the park. So Karen and I are sort of neighbors. I grew up in Idaho. So if you want recommendations about where to go and where not to go, I'm happy to give you those. But before I moved to DC, I lived in Somerville in Boston for 10 years. And I moved to the district in June 2023. So I've not been here super long, not even 2 years yet. But I think I mentioned this previously, but I'm an urban planner. I work for the city of Alexandria. I specialize in long range planning and specifically community engagement. So, like some of you have said, I really don't have much experience working with historic districts, even though Alexandrians love their historic districts. So this is exciting from that point of view, but also I do really care about community power in planning decisions. And so I'm really interested in participating in local government in such a way that it really extends a community-based approach to urban planning. And so that's something that I really appreciate about having access to and being able to participate in this committee. Because this is really rare. I did my master's thesis on community engagement opportunities like this. I studied ANCs. They don't really exist outside of the district in as meaningful a way, besides a few exceptions in the States. So this is a really rare opportunity that I'm very excited to be part of. So I'll keep it at that, but
I really appreciate that, and it should be noted too that you had an interest in chairing this as well. So you do have a passion, and we're really glad that you are a part of the team. So thank you for that, Christian. We mentioned earlier Bruce was on. I don't know what happened; he dropped off. But Patrick, you're up next. If you'd like to say anything.
You're gonna make me talk, huh?
I know you said earlier I'm not doing it.
Well, I'll try
Patrick,
to
we
be.
have more trouble getting you to stop talking.
That's why I said I wasn't going to talk. I'll try to summarize because it's kind of intense. I actually am originally from New York. I moved here in the late 80s and then moved into the city in 1985. Purchased the house that I'm living in now in 1993. So I've been in this house 30 plus years. I got involved with community events around a number of different things. The Police Citizens Advisory Council that Karen Gall now chairs. I was one of the executive committee members on that for many, many years. I've also participated in the Civic Association, which is the Pleasant Plains Civic Association. I'm the vice chair of that. And I really got involved with some community-based action that related to a couple of projects that are now coming to fruition, but were very contentious. I actually live in 1B, but was asked by Alan to come back and help facilitate this committee since I chaired this committee for 8+ years and have been sitting on this committee as long as Joel has. So we won't mention that time frame. But I got involved.
To be honest, I don't even know when it was that we started. I have no idea when we started.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves. So what really started me to get involved in zoning and this whole committee stuff was the Park Morton project, which is was all low-income DC Housing Authority project that was supposed to be converted into a mixed-use project. And it got into a lot of community engagement and trying to make sure that the project was moving forward. And then they wanted to do different things that caused problems. And part of that was a school on Georgia Avenue that was closed. It was called Bruce Monroe School. And that was going to be the development site, which then got into a legal fight with some of the abutting residents. So it got very contentious. And that started me on the process of wanting to get involved. And that's when I joined the committee. And since then, I have been involved in a number of planned unit developments or PUDs that are usually large apartment buildings or condo buildings, depending on what the developer wants to do. And the benefits that come out of that are applied to the community. And I won't rattle off how many I've done because it'll make your head spin, but that's a benefit that this committee has in negotiating. One, specific project that we did, I was instrumental in really pushing the developer to react to wants from the community and actually got a $600,000 grant that we used for development. Trying to think, sponsorship, not sponsorship, that's the wrong one. Scholarship grants for a training program that we set up and was highly successful. It was limited to 1B. It gave them a grant of $2,000, and they were able to go through a whole training program to get certified. We had 6 or 7 people certified as electricians that are now currently working with Pepco. We had a couple that went through the WASA water program. So it was very, very beneficial. And that's just one example. Like I said, there's a whole, I probably did about 6 or 7 of those that I was actively involved in. So my experience in dealing with that, and then the other big project that I've been working on for many, 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 many years is the Howard University campus and its plan for what it's doing for construction of different projects. Frank can attest to the fact of how much issues we've had with different projects that have come out of the chute for that. I worked with a group of residents to negotiate a whole package deal for some parcels that are now getting developed along Georgia Avenue. All those lots that you see that are used as vacant parking lots is all Howard property and is all being redeveloped into to projects. They have property from the Howard or the McDonald site all the way down to V Street is all Howard property. And all of those properties are now going to be, they're in the process of being redeveloped and are coming out of the ground. So my experience is in doing those projects. And one of the biggest things that is my pet peeve is pushing for and advocating for real affordability in these projects when they're developed. And that's one of the benefits of having the PUD process available, is that that's a tool that can be used to push developers to really go higher and deeper in affordability, because they only want to do what's the minimum amount that's available, which is usually at 80%. And we were able to push and get the city to do some legislation. So now any city property that gets done, and in 1B, there's the infamous 1617 property. And then there's the, I can't think of the name of it. The one that's on the corner of 14th and U. That all has
Reeves building.
Yeah, that all has a separate clause that goes even deeper. They're required to do 30% of the housing at 30% AMI. So these are all things that over time I've gotten myself involved in and feel like I've given a benefit back to the community with the amount of additional affordability that had someone not been advocating for. The developers will take the least amount of resistance that they can to get their project up and growing. And I'll end at that, because I could go on and on about stuff I've done.
No, we got another hour, so go ahead. No, all right. Well, one thing I picked up from all of you guys is that you're all very big advocates for the neighborhood, which is awesome. To each point, I think that's what makes us all do this, because it's not easy. Only because I want to end this call shortly. I'll make this as quick as possible. I've been living in DC about 7 days from now. It'll be 9 years. What brought me down here, to Alex's point, was the history. I think that we live in like the best area of all the United States, or even maybe the world for that matter, in terms of the history and what's taken place in our great country. So that to me was also really appealing, and preserving that history is also very appealing to me as well. I did ask Patrick back simply because he is he is a great person to lean on. He has helped the committee 2 terms ago when I first was elected as a commissioner. He was a zoning chair, and he didn't even wasn't even a commissioner, but it just showed the value he'd offered. So when the opportunity came for chairing this committee, I knew right away that I was going to do it. If Patrick gave me a thumbs up, I was a thumbs up, and if Patrick was a thumbs down, I was a thumbs down. So I do really appreciate you being here, Patrick, and you guys just all working together in harmony. We're going to get through a lot this year. I'll end on saying that I currently work at Howard University, not for the university, for a third party. I manage all the dorms there. For the last 3 years, I worked at Howard in a different capacity with the schools themselves and the actual where the students are taught. I did that for over 2 years in the commercial aspect with CBRE, and now I'm doing more of the residential side. So when I tell you I love this area in general, to what Karen with the Y said earlier, I moved to this building, Cannon Roosevelt, because I loved that I have literally Meridian Hill / Malcolm X Park directly behind me. I think it is the best park in DC, and I think that the area we live in is just awesome. So hearing all of what everyone has said tonight, and just again being advocates for the neighbors and working together, I think that's why we're all here. I just want to make sure, Mr. Bello, you're satisfied with getting to know everyone, and everyone else is satisfied getting to know everyone. And if anyone had anything else they'd like to ask or recommend, by all means, please do so.
Thank you all for doing this. It was very nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, thank
I
you
can
for suggesting it, Jason.
Yes, Jason, sorry, you and Patrick started talking at the same time. So go ahead, Jason, please.
Oh, I was just saying thank you everybody for doing this. It was nice to get to
Yes.
meet everybody.
Awesome. And to Christian's point, that thank you as well for suggesting it and pushing it forward. And Patrick, I'm sorry, go ahead.
2 things. One, there's a person in the attendee list that wants to speak, Anthony. And I just wanted to give a heads up to everybody for next month. We have working with Frank, gotten the zoning administrator to commit to come next week and talk about a couple of issues that are hot topic, but also give an overview of how zoning works. So I think that will be an educational as it was with the HBRB piece.
You said
Yeah,
next,
100%.
next week, Patrick?
Yeah, no,
Next
that was
month.
an error. He means
Okay, yeah, don't
April,
do that. I missed something.
April 21st, which will be my last note.
What
And I do
happens,
see.
that's what happens, Joel, when you get old. Your days just all meld into one.
Say
Okay,
say
so-
what?
so-
Who?
All right,
Who are you?
guys. Listen, Anthony from the mayor's office has been very longstanding and also on the call. Anthony, appreciate you. By all means, go ahead and speak.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Robinson. I'm the Ward 1 manager for the Mayor's Office of Community Services. I am pleased just to be here and to hear the passion from everybody just about this community and be able to build and be able to add to the community. I want to help with that. I want to make sure that I put my my name, my number into the chat. And if y'all just, reach out to me, send me a text, I can lock you in and we can be able to meet and talk. And I also wanted to be able to get with Mr. Patrick about the Pleasant Palms Civic Association as well. And just be that connection that you may need as far as getting things done in your neighborhood, getting things done in the community that you see that needs to be done or that you have tried to get done. I can be your point of contact there. And also information, and I just wanted to share this because I just found this out today. Tomorrow, Great Streets will have a meeting explaining their new grant that they just opened up on the 14th. It is the retail and locally made manufacturing grant. And it will be at 1400 Meridian Place, Northwest. And that it'll be at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And also, if there's any other things that I may be able to assist with, I don't care if that's trash, if that's connecting with agencies or anything, please feel free to reach out. And I encourage everyone to take that information down that's in there and just send me a text and I'll reach right back out. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner, for everything you do.
Anthony, thank you, and thanks for all of your hard work and dedication. I think this is probably the first time I've seen a Moker stay on a call for a ZPD committee meeting, and I'm sorry, I noticed towards the end I would have told you to speak right after the first two cases, but you have made a big difference in not only 1B, but also in Ward 1 and throughout the DC area. I definitely want to grab a coffee with you, go over some things. That would be great, and just get some feedback from you. I do have Anthony's email. I wrote it down earlier from the chat, so I'll send that to the entire committee. And Anthony, I'll CC you as well, so you have the entire committee's email as well. And then you guys can decide on when you want to talk and all that good stuff. So Anthony, thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I do see one other person, Mr. Dave Maloff, who had his hand up. Dave, I'm not sure if you still want to speak. If so, you can go ahead and speak. You are able to. Dave, if you're speaking, we're not hearing. Okay, going once, twice, three times. Okay, well, the only thing I can think of that Dave, because I've spoken to Dave a couple times, he is a panelist right now, so I don't know if he's just having technical issues, but talking about DOB and the accident that happened close to 90 days now ago, I stated earlier in the call that I have sent emails and I've tried to hold these people accountable. I think that DOB, as Joel mentioned on our last meeting, they are very careful as to what they say on calls. How I phrased my last email was, we just want to talk and say hello and get some understanding of things. I'm hoping that turns to be a little more successful, but I did make sure that I sent it to her and then also her boss, which is right now, my brain is a little fried of what his name was, but I could tell you right now who I sent it to. It was her boss, which is Mr. Alex Cross. So they both have, and I also CC'd Chair Duramo as well in my last communication with them. So we are trying to bring them to the table. If that was the comment you had to make. If there's nothing else at this time, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Is there anything else anyone has they'd like to talk about, speak about, anything? No. In that case, then I appreciate everyone's time. I look forward to seeing you on the 21st of April at 6:30 p.m. Appreciate your patience with me tonight, and meeting is adjourning at 8:44 p.m. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the week, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.